All right, folks, looks like I am live. I'm just checking to make sure the stream's looking all right on my end. So let's see if it does. All right, sounds like everything's all right, but the volume is a little bit low. Let me know if I need to turn up, if anybody sees this. Hopefully everybody can. But anyway, all right, today, first of all, let me tell you why we're doing this live stream. Let me just share my screen with you, and you should be able to see it just fine. Having to do all the mechanics and everything way behind the computer, way far away from the computer, but you should be able to see this, and I'll have to zoom in so that I can actually see it myself, so hopefully you guys can still see that. It says, "Hi Eric, would you ever consider doing a video telling us about your musical journey? What led you to the guitar and why you love it? I know singing and bluegrass gospel would play into it too, as well as your teaching, live performances, and great recordings like this one. Would love to hear that, hint, hint." And that's by Michelle V222 a couple weeks ago. This is on my Dear Preacher Man single kind of like preview video that I did. She left a comment on that. And I told her, thanks, Michelle, I'll definitely consider that. And I'm honored that you asked. And I am indeed honored that she asked. So we're going to get right on into that. And I figured I've got to change the strings on this bad boy anyway. So why not just do that and tell you the story while I'm doing this? My goal for this is simply to... Okay, I see what's going on. Hopefully I can get this going. Let me just check real quick to make sure. Okay, to me it's very low, but I've got my speakers turned down just a little bit. So if anybody can hear this later, hopefully everything will be all right. I'm going to actually turn up my volume just a little bit. I didn't want to have a lot of noise coming through from the fan, but it is hot in this room. So if there's noise, just please forgive me on that. All right, so we'll turn that down just a little bit. Okay, so thank you everybody for watching this, whether it be during the live stream or later. I really appreciate that. Looks like I'm clipping here. I don't like that. I don't want to be clipping, but I don't want to be too low either. So hopefully it'll turn out all right. If not, you can turn your volume up on your web browser and your computer as well. I can't have the volume too far up on my computer because it will feedback tremendously. Don't want that. But anyway, I figure what I want to do with this guitar is, I've had it for several years now, but I've had it set up to where it has, I think, 3 or 4 springs in the back. I think it's 3 springs. Yes, 3 springs and a Goldo back box. Now, what I want to do is take one of those springs out. I used to be able to play this guitar with only 2 springs, and it was fine. But now I can't even get this. It's very hard to get this tremolo to move. Stays in tune really well, but I used to be able to do it with 2 springs, and for some reason, I don't know why, when I tried to change strings this last time, this bridge just kept pulling up and up and up. And recently I seen a video from Dave Winger on his live streams, and he talked about, you know, tuning and setting up his Floyd-Rose guitar, and he said if you don't tighten the claw enough, that will happen. So I'm guessing that's what happened with mine, and I'm going to do something I don't normally suggest you do. If you really want to know how to change Floyd-Rose strings and how to get it set up and everything, watch my other video. There's a video that I did on how to tune Floyd-Rose style guitars. It's one of my more popular videos. Definitely check that out. But for now, what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to suggest you do this, and that is take all the strings off at once. Now that's going to cause my bridge to completely pull back like this, but I need that to happen so that I can remove one of those springs. So we're going to try to work on that and see what happens. So I'm going to hopefully won't need, well, I kind of do need this keyboard because it has me zoom in when I need to see what's going on. So feel free to leave any comments, any questions, anything like that. I do have a great surprise coming up if you don't know about it yet. You've probably seen it on my Instagram. Check out Instagram.com and search for me, or you can just go to ericbeatty.com/Instagram and you can check out my profile. The last few days have been releasing a surprise for all you bluegrass fans out there, so definitely check that out. That will be announced and released officially probably this Sunday is when I plan on doing that. So without further ado, let's talk about my guitar journey, and hopefully I can do 2 things at once and work on the guitar at the same time. So what I'm going to have to do right now is take off these Ninja Turtle wristband things that I've put on here. I love these things. I got these from Walmart in the party section, and I haven't been able to find them since, so I don't know what the deal is with that, but I'm going to have to take these off. All right, so you can just follow along with me. Like I said, I'm not going to give you a lot of instructions on how to do this. I have a video dedicated to that if you want to check that out. But my guitar journey begins over 25 years ago. I've been playing guitar for about 27 years now, I think. And what I have done, or I started playing guitar, the earliest memory that I have is probably about 1993. Two things happened that were life-changing. That year I became a Christian, and that year I started learning to play guitar. So, big deal there in both counts. And in 93, I remember my earliest memory of playing guitar. This kind of goes two different ways. I'll start with the first one that I really know. It's a lot of times I used to forget when it was I started playing, 93, 94. And here's how I can tell which one it was. In 94, we used to have a video that me and my brother recorded, or maybe my mom recorded, I can't remember. We used to have a video, a VHS tape, of me sitting down and playing guitar while my mom and stepdad lived at one of the houses, many houses they had. I call it the spiral staircase house because that's what I remember it by. But we had that, they were living at that house at the time, and they had us on tape. I remember, I think when my brother was sitting right next to me, and that was the year, around the year that my sister was born on my mom's side. And so we were, I can see the tape in my mind. If I'm looking at the tape, what I'm seeing is me playing this little bitty junior guitar, and I remember distinctly it was an Alan Jackson song, and I can't remember which one it was. I was just playing it for fun because I knew the chords G, C, and D. It was kind of going like that, and I can't remember if it was the only two Alan Jackson songs that come to mind. Now this was back in the early '90s, so it's around that era. Are Chattahoochee and Here in the Real World. It's Not That Easy at All. I don't think it was Here in the Real World. It might have been Chattahoochee, just for fun, just playing around. Just, hey, here I can play a song. I don't remember which one it was. It wasn't 5 o'clock somewhere or anything like that. That came later. That song did. But that's my earliest memory. So I know that was in 94 because I can clearly, distinctly see the timestamp in my mind. Now, sadly, when they moved to a different house in a different location, that house burnt down. And sadly, I think that's where the video was lost. It was burnt in the fire. Everybody survived, nobody was hurt or anything like that, but some of the things were lost. So I wish I had got that video years ago, but due to family issues, I couldn't really go around the house or anything. I couldn't really visit anybody. But I wish I'd got that video because I could have had that memory. But like I said, I distinctly remember that timestamp, 1994. And so in my mind, if I'm already playing the D chord in an actual song, then I already knew how to play the guitar enough that I probably started playing back in 93. And that's my best recollection of when I started playing guitar. So, I don't know if I can do two things at once, people. This is proving difficult to do these. So I'll try to talk you along this as I'm going along here. Any of this gear that I have, you can check out my guitar maintenance box video. That's where you're going to find a lot of this stuff. And also you can check out ericbeatty.com/gear. You can look at that for my recommended gear. Now, this is something, like I said, I do not recommend that you do, and that is detuning all the strings because your bridge is going to be way down here. But I have to do this to kind of reset this guitar a little bit. I got to go the other way with this. I'm going to have to keep an eye on my microphone as well because I've got a new wireless system. It's very weird getting up and being able to move around because I'm usually attached to a cord. But I recently got a new wireless system. Oh, I forgot about that. That's not good, folks. This is why... Oh my goodness, this is crazy. Okay, I have to unlock it first. I haven't messed with a guitar, a Floyd-Rose guitar, in so long. It's ridiculous. All right, I have to unlock this, and hopefully it won't just snap and kill us all. All right, that's good. Let's unlock that. Unlock this. Anyway... 93 was when I would have started playing guitar, and the reason for that, here's how that started. I remember as a kid, I was about 12 at the time. My grandmother was still living, and I think my grandpa was still living. He didn't pass away until like 90, I want to say 96. I can't remember. No, it would have been earlier than that. It would have been probably 93 or 94 when he had passed away on my dad's side. And so 93, I went ahead and my grandmother at the time, I had asked her, oh my goodness, man. And there it goes. It broke. Well, that's fine. That's totally fine. We got to get rid of these anyway. Anyway, at the time, it was like Christmas of 2000, I want to say 12, maybe. Not 12, 1992, because 93 is when I started learning to play. And I remember they used to have these, I don't know if you know about the Harriet Carter books, but they had something similar to that. And those were those catalogs that had like everything in them. And they were about, that thick. I mean, they were kind of like a decent sized catalog. They had just about what you might see today as like you consider the As Seen on TV catalog. And they had those way back in the day. Oh. And I remember seeing in that catalog a 2 VHS set of an instructional course on how to play the guitar. And I was dying to learn how to do this. The main reason I wanted to do this, for one thing, was at the time I was attending a church, and the lady that played the piano, I was so desperate to be able to play along in church, and I wanted to be a part of that. And I wanted to be a part of that big time. So I begged and begged my grandma to give me this set on how to play guitar on VHS. I remember the box was like that big. There was 2 VHS tapes on it. So I begged and begged her to do this for me, and she graciously, for Christmas, that's all I wanted, was to learn how to play the guitar, because I had this little junior thing that my grandma had, and that's what I started on. I mean, it was like a very, very tiny guitar with terrible strings. I remember the strings were terrible. They were like copper colored. I don't remember what the bronze ratio was, but they were copper colored. And they weren't, for a beginner, it was probably, I don't see how I didn't give up, because the action was high. It was unreal how crazy that was. How crazy hard it was to play on it as well. So she got me that, and I remember playing the guitar and starting learning the guitar. And what was most interesting to me was being able to play the chords, because I wanted to learn I wanted to learn fast. I wanted to learn to be able to, within like a month, to get up and play a song. And I already had a pretty good ear and already had a pretty good sense of rhythm, so I could kind of tell when chords were changing and kind of learn what the chord changes sounded like. So I wanted to learn starting with chords. And so I was not interested at all in learning how to read music. I wanted to learn how to play chords. Okay, so that's what I was working on for the longest in this course. It was a 2-part course. It was like a beginner, and then as you begin to learn, you start getting better at it. And so I remember this course had one song particular in it that I learned, and it was Tom Dooley. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, poor boy, you're about to die. I remember that. It was like a cowboy country song. And that's the song that I started learning on. I knew there were more. I can't remember what they were, but I remember that one distinctly. And so I started learning chords and started learning songs just by chords. And this thing had like maybe 3 or 4 rows of 4 chords. So it had maybe, 16 chords altogether, maybe less. So I learned my basic chords first and foremost. Your G, your D, your A, The F was terrible. The B7 I hated. The B I ignored completely. I thought, well, the B, I don't know how I'm going to do that because I wasn't used to bar chords and all that. And it was like that, you know, I had to bar that A and all this, and it just felt weird. I put three fingers there, and my fingers were too big. I couldn't do it on that little small guitar. So I cheated. I just learned the B7, and I thought, well, B and B7, what's the difference? You know, it's a B. Now I know better, obviously, but that's how I started. We had this 2 VHS cassette tape guitar course, and I remember letting it was my sister's cousin on my dad's side, but she's a half sister. But anyway, without the schematics and the genealogy going on, it was her cousin. I let him borrow, I think it was either both cassette tapes or the second one, because he wanted to learn how to play guitar. And he wanted me to teach him how I learned and all that, and I thought, well, I'll let him borrow that. And I never saw him again after that. I don't know what happened to him, but that's fine, because I already knew a lot more by the time I let him learn how to play, or let him use them. So that's basically how I started, okay? It was a begging my grandmother for the guitar course, that all I wanted to learn was the chords so that I could start playing songs in church. I was not interested in reading the music, and I regret that now because I just wasn't patient enough to learn it, and it's taken me this long. I only started learning how to read music kind of sort of maybe about 3 years ago or so, and that's because of where I was teaching guitar students at the time. I had to learn how to play ukulele, and also the book that I had that they wanted me to teach, I had to learn how to read music because that's the only curriculum they had. They didn't really have chords. They started out with music. So I had to learn how to read it. And the book that helped me the most in that was Hal Leonard's Guitar Method. I have a link to that as well. If you go to my gear page, ericbailey.com/gear, you can check that out. There's a complete series of that. But that actually helped me learn how to read music years later. So I regret not learning how to do it before. Even in high school, they had music classes, but I just did not want to learn. I was fine playing by ear, wanted to, do all that, but I highly recommend learning how to read music if you are any kind of musician, because it really does help. Really does help. So let me see what else was going on after that. There was something else I was thinking of. Playing in church, it has something to do with that. Playing in church, I wanted to be able to do that really quick, so that course helped me do that. Still only me as a viewer. Oh well. Let's check the sound, still make sure it's working here. Okay, looks like the sound may be alright, so that's good. So, let me think. I'm trying to get this down here. There's a lot to go over. This may become a two-parter. I don't know. But anyway, so, I know what it was. I began after that, between Sundays, because we'd go to church on Sunday, and I'd try to get up and play. And between that, I would take and listen to some like old records and 8-tracks that I used to have from my grandma. She gave me her 8-track player, so I'd love listening to Johnny Horton. I still love Johnny Horton. Still one of my favorite singers of all time. He's got some of the best songs out there. But anyway, I would try to play cassettes of like the Primitive Quartet, the Cooks, all those old Southern gospel songs. And I would sit there and try my best to play along with them and listen for the chord changes. And I remember I would hear a minor and I would be like, man, what minor is that? And for me, the B minor, I guess, was kind of hard because all the time I would think it was E minor. Okay, so where's my other minors? And so I would just list the A, B, C minor, A minor, D minor, and all this stuff. Most of the time it would either be the A minor or the E minor, A minor, or B minor, which by then, that B minor was tough learning how to do that. So I just had to learn, this version instead of that whole bar version. But I remember that fun things are happening that are coming back to my mind. So let me just take a quick second to tell you what I'm doing here. I'm going to have to take these off, these little screw things, the locking nut things here. And I'm going to take those off, and I'm going to, since I haven't touched this guitar in a while, and the strings basically, by the way, I haven't changed these since February of 2019, so it's long overdue. But anyway, this is what I was telling you about earlier. This right here, if you can see that. See that bridge? It's way down in that cavity now. Okay, so it's way down in there. And what we're going to have to do is flip this thing. But the problem is, what I'm going to do first, I have, from experience, folks, let me tell you how to do this. You do not want to move this while these saddles are loose, because there's these little blocks in here that pinch the string and keep it locked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually screw that back in to make sure those are not necessarily tight, but snug in there so that I don't have to worry about those falling out. Do not want those to fall out, okay? That is a hassle and a half to try to find those. If you lose one, you're hurting. I remember losing one time when I did this, and it was like in the couch for the longest. So I'm using the tool that actually came with this guitar here on the back, this one right here. That's my AZ242BC. And when I got that guitar, Ibanez actually included this little multi-tool. So that's what I've been using. I also have a set of Stanley wrenches, I think it is. It's the yellow casing with the black wrenches, Allen wrenches in it, hex keys. But this has other tools in it that I can use as well. So it's got like a little truss rod tool thing and different things like that. So I'm just using that right now. But anyway, so that's about 93, 94, okay? I remember all this. I remember as I was learning guitar, the whole OJ scandal happened. I think around 94, Bill Clinton was getting, getting inaugurated as president. I may have my history wrong there, but I just remember growing up in those days, okay? I was born in 1980, and so I'm 40 years old this year, and this is taking forever. Sorry about that. Yeah, I remember growing up in that time, and the whole time playing guitar, trying to get better at it, learning more and more about it. And around 95, maybe 94-ish, maybe even 93-ish, I don't remember exactly the year, but it's around that time, my dad started dating. Actually, my dad was preaching for a while, and so as an evangelist, he would go to different churches, and we would follow him, because we like to sing, and as the guitar player and the musician, me and my sister, she would sing on my dad's side, and she would sing and accompany me. And so at that time, she was 4 years younger than I am. So if I'm 14, then she's 10. So we're kind of singing together as brother and sister group, and we start going to this church in Crossville called Woody. I think it's Free Will Baptist. I can't remember exactly. But we start going to this church, and my dad meets, the pastor at the time is the father-in-law of my dad's wife today. And they've been married for I guess it's been about 25, 26 years. So he gets acquainted with her at that church. And she's got 2 kids, JC and Shane, my stepbrothers. And so we get all acquainted, and me and my sister hit it off with them real well. We have a good time, and it's maybe a year or two later when Dad and Karen, my stepmom, get married. So around the time of 95, we cut an album together, and I've got it here somewhere. I've actually got the old cassette, one of the old cassettes. I've been meaning to put it off and burn it on it. Oh, I've got it right here. Let me show it to you. Let me show you what I used to look like when I was a kid. I've never before shown this, I don't think, on YouTube. And we used to call ourselves the Heavenly Travelers. And I've been meaning to burn this on CD and get on digital, but I just haven't wanted to do all the hookup and all that stuff together and everything. But this is what we used to look like. Please forgive me, Shane, JC, and Melissa, if you see this, okay? This is our picture. Get ready for nerdage. Extreme nerdage, folks. Extreme nerdage. You see that? You see that right there? Let me see if I can get my camera to autofocus, because you really got to see this in high def, really. Back here to autofocus. Come on. Come, there we go. And autofocus. All right, guys. Is that working? There it goes. The Heavenly Travelers. There's me. Where's my thumb? Me. right here. I used to be skinny, folks. Used to be skinny with that ugly tie. Shane, with his split down the middle haircut. JC, both of us used to be skinny, JC. We used to be skinny. And then Melissa, look how small she is at the time, my sister. So we cut our album called The Heavenly Travelers. This was in the winter time, because you can see ice on the, get that to focus. You can see ice on the lake back there. This was in, I want to say this was, come on, focus. Yeah. I want to say this was at Cumberland County State Park. Could be wrong there, but you can see the ice on the lake in the background. This was in the wintertime. We went to, I want to say it was Grimsley, Tennessee. I could be wrong. But wherever Crystal Studios are, we went there and cut our album. And you can see back here the songs that we had sung. Cassette tape. Address Change. Today May Be the Day. That's one of Karen, my stepmother's original songs. Altar Call, the last altar call is that song. I get a lot of requests for that. Treasures in Synchron, Holy Someday, Sun's Coming Up Far Away, The Offer Still Stands. 1996, okay? This is manufactured by Crystal Incorporated in Hickson, Tennessee. I said Grimsley, but it's Hickson, okay? So that is that, and here's our side one. And side two, you know, all that. But that is us, and I don't think I've ever before showed that. This is one of the original tapes. And one of these days, hopefully I will sit down and actually record that and make a, maybe release that on something. I don't know. But that is around 1996 that happened. We were able to get that video or that album cut. This is before YouTube, people. This is before all those social media outlets and everything. This is way before that. So, go back over here. Still want to check out and make sure I can see everything and hear everything. Okay, I think I'm clipping, so I'm going to turn my mic down a little bit. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Okay, that should work. All right. Apologize for all these technical issues. I always have technical issues whenever I'm streaming. That's the nature of it. Okay, so all right. Okay, so what I need to do now is, like I said, these are now locked in. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. Matter of fact, I don't think I'll fool with the strap. Now, here's a cool trick for you guys. Instead of having to unscrew this all the time, I use Steve Vai's little trick. I put Velcro on the back plate here, and it just comes right off. Okay. All right, see that? Velcro. You can see where I've lined it up here on the guitar. Now you can see internally there is 3 springs and the Goldo back box, which I did a video on that, and if you decide to watch that video, watch it all the way to the end, because I made a lot of mistakes on that video that it shouldn't be that hard to install, but I made a lot of mistakes. And I'm not going to do this now, but I'm guessing when I have to reset this with the springs, I'll probably have to reset the back box as well. I'm not sure. Probably the best way to make this stable is to put the 2 springs. I'll probably just leave this one. Well, let me just show you how I'm going to do it. Okay, we'll just do that. To get this spring out, oh, there's that's got to come out too. Got to get this whammy bar out for now. So that's 1996, okay? So we went to 93, 94, 95, 96-ish. We become a band, or a group, working together and playing together and just having a real good time. We're all very close still to this day. We get together and we jam every now and then. We actually jammed not too long ago. Fun stuff, fun times. So 96-ish. After that, we began to start going different places and singing different places. And as a result, we're able to get a little bit of equipment. So we got our first PA system along that time, maybe a year after that. And we had a great time. We would get love offerings and things like that. And so, oh boy. This is going to be something else to try to get this in there, boys and girls. There we go. You just stay right there, and you stay in there for me. This is probably going to be a disaster. I hope not, but it may be. What I'm probably going to have to do, I don't have anything to kind of like, because this right here wants to come up, and that's not good. This spring, you can't see it, but this spring wants to come up, and that is not a good thing. So what I need to do, actually, I can come up because I'm going to put that there and then put this over here. I'm going to need to, let's just take that out for a second. I'm going to have to bring that up and put something underneath it. I just don't know what yet. Maybe this spring will do it. That spring should work. Put that there for now, and that'll hold it at least pretty tight. Now, getting that other spring back on is going to be a pain. I'm going to hook this close to the middle so that it has somewhere to go. As long as that spring is there, it should, yes, keep that from moving out. So when I put strings on this, that tension will be there, and that will help a lot. So now, I've got a little issue here. That's what the springs look like. It may have something to do with that too. So what I may want to do is put both the springs like closer to the middle. I don't know exactly how I want to do this, because I want it to be stable. And not offset too bad. I don't know, we'll go with that, I guess. We'll see. I'm just going to leave that back open for now. What I'm going to do now is work on this fretboard because it needs cleaning. I'm going to use the cleaner and prep and then the deep conditioner and see about that, because it's a long time coming working on this. Okay, folks, so that's 95, 96. So then we get into, like I said, we started getting PA system. So we started working on singing at different churches, things like that. And getting called for bookings to start traveling and things like that. So Dad would preach somewhere, and we would like go sing where he preached, different things like that. So then we get into about 97 and 98. So I'm in the 11th and 12th grade at that time. I graduated in 98. So I'm old. I'm ancient, I know. You don't have to tell me. So along that time, I don't know why. I guess I know I was a shy kid in school. Really shy kid. I would consider myself one of the nerds because I would hang out with those type of people that were also considered that. Because you know how high school is. And it's worse today by far than it ever was when I was a kid. High school, you get all these cliques. You get these certain people who hang out together. A lot of the, preppy people and things like that, depending on where you're at. And I would hang out with the people who I felt comfortable with, which was usually people one grade lower than me and considered in the nerdy crowd, I guess what you might say. But I don't know why I didn't have more interest in guitar when I was a kid. I would go to talent shows. I remember the talent shows in high school, and I would see the people playing, and there was this one particular guy who was like the guitar god of the high school, and I would look at him and I'd be like, I may not be able to play like that, but I'm pretty good, Why don't I get up there and be a talent show person or whatever? There's only like once or twice I ever participated in a talent show where I played guitar. And one of them was for my ex-girlfriend at the time, who asked me to play for her while she sung. I guess you call me a sucker. I don't know. But anyway, I don't know why I wasn't more interested in the guitar at that time. But around 97 is when another guitar life-changing event happened. I had always liked, you know, like primitive quartet, the Southern gospel kind of thing. But in '97, I believe this was when it happened, the album Bluegrass Rules came out by Kentucky Thunder, Ricky Skaggs and Kentucky Thunder. He had just formed this band. I'd only known Ricky Skaggs by my favorite Ricky Skaggs song of all time at that time, Honey, Won't You Open That Door? That was my favorite song at the time. I remember this. So, I remember at that time, I was still living with Dad and with Karen, and I absolutely hated chores as a kid. Hated most of all. I don't know which one I hated worse, washing dishes or mowing the lawn. They were both pretty equal on my hate to-do list, okay? So, at that time, what I would do to kind of make the time pass by when I did either one of these chores that I hated was I would take and I would have my Sony, it wasn't a Sony, I don't think, but it was a Walkman, you know, cassette player that you could play. And I would hook it to my hip and I would go outside and I would mow the lawn and I would listen to music all the time. And nowadays, we have MP3 players, we have smartphones, we can listen to music anywhere we go, and I love it because that's all I ever do. I don't listen to the radio. I listen to like music I have on my phone. I'm just now getting to, you know, streaming things, and I really don't like to do that because I don't like to use the data. I don't have unlimited data, so I just download what I can on my phone, and when I'm done, I remove it so that I can save some space. So what I would do is I would get out there and listen to different music. And my favorite at that time was Bluegrass Rules. I wore that tape out. I don't know how many times. Maybe, I know at least probably several hundred, if not more, times I would listen to that album. It was the thing for me back then. I enjoyed it so much, and I heard the playing of one of the most all-time inspirations of me, and that was Brian Sutton. Hands down, he's probably the most influential guitarist for my bluegrass playing. I didn't know about Tony Rice until years after that, okay? But Brian Sutton, his playing, and I had to look him up because we didn't have, you know, a lot of internet stuff back then. We had dial-up and it wasn't a big deal. You didn't have high speed and all this other stuff going on. And so I would have to do the best I could to research this stuff and learn that the guitar player for Ricky Skaggs was Brian Sutton for Kentucky Thunder. That's when Darren Vincent was with him as well, I think. So when I heard that album, I got it and bought it probably at the local CD/cassette store back when CDs were starting to be a big thing, I think. And I would listen to that album over and over and over and over and over. Mowing the lawn, hearing bluegrass. Mowing the lawn, hearing bluegrass. Then every album after that. Ancient Tones was the second Kentucky Thunder album. It came out, listened to that album over and over and over. And it was sad to hear that after that, Brian Sutton was no longer Ricky Skaggs' guitar player. It was Cody Kilby at the time. And for me, nobody could stack up to Brian Sutton. Still today, that's the way it is for me. I love Brian Sutton more than any other bluegrass guitar player. And so Brian Sutton's playing really propelled me to want to get better at guitar. By that time, I'd already been graduating, so it was too late for me to go back to high school and relive that life as well. So that was 97. So we went from 93 to 97, okay? So continuing onward, let's see, what am I doing now? I'm going to go ahead and polish the guitar and then work on trying to string this thing up. I have some lemon oil. I usually use that, but since I've got the Dunlop deep conditioner and everything, it has lemon oil in it. Basically the same thing. If I'm not mistaken, it's got lemon oil in it. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it does. Not sure, but it's close enough. Guitar polish, the one thing I thought I had, but I do not. It's over here, excuse me, in my guitar maintenance box. It's so weird being able to get up and walk around and not be attached to anything. I love this. It's awesome. So I'm just using Ernie Ball guitar polish, nothing special here. I've had this thing for years. Don't even know if it has an expiration date. Okay, so I'm trying to, this is a lot to rehash here. 98, and I might have to go back and forth by the time I get later on because more things happened. We've got 20-something years to cover, guys, so bear with me on that. Just sitting here polishing now. Let's see, 98, that was the year I graduated. As far as guitar stuff, I don't think I was trying to learn how to pick, if I'm not mistaken, because of bluegrass, because of that album I was telling you about. Listened to a lot of that and would try to sit down and play it by ear. I couldn't find tabs to this stuff. I don't even know if they made tabs to that stuff back then. But what I would do is I would sit down, and I would do this a lot. I would put the cassette player on, and I would just listen and try to find it. Pause, rewind, pause, rewind. There was no digital transcribe software out there, no Guitar Pro, nothing to help you learn things like this. None of that stuff. It was just pause, rewind. Pause, rewind, play, rewind, constantly. And so what I would do is I would sit there in my room going over all this stuff and trying to learn how to pick. And I eventually learned how to do it and got, to understand the mechanics behind some of that stuff and going by ear. I didn't understand music theory one bit, didn't understand why it worked, didn't care why it worked. I just was excited that I could do it. I could do something with the guitar. Nowhere near Brian Sutton, but I could definitely pick a little bit, and I felt awesome because of that. So I just kept trying to get better and better at it. So that's 98. I'm sure there's more stuff than that I can think of, but we're going to fast forward a little bit to some of the other things I can remember. It's kind of a gap in between there because I was most focused on college at that time. I went to college right after graduating. So graduated in 98, started college either in the same year or in 99. And I only went 2 years. I went to Rome State, so I was traveling a lot, about 50 miles both ways. I worked at the time in Crossville. So I lived in Monterey, worked in Crossville. That's about 20 miles. And back in those days, I was working at a lot of different temporary places. So I would work through temporary agencies like Manpower and Adeco. Those were the main ones that I can remember. And I would work through those places and would want to get hired on, but nobody was hiring. After, so long they would lay you off so they wouldn't have to pay you full price. You know how that goes. And so I did a lot of that and going back and forth to Harriman, trying to, earn a living, pay for my car payment, still living at home. I didn't move out until I don't know, probably early 2000s. Went to live with my grandma, went to live in some projects for a while, passing the time there. But as I was doing this, let's go ahead and back up just a little bit because I just remembered something that's very important to the story. At some point, my brother wanted to learn how to play guitar as well. And I was the only one to teach him. Now, let me tell you this right now. Nobody in my family is musically inclined, other than my sisters on my dad's side. And now my brother, because I got him started in playing guitar. And I don't know of anybody, I know of some people in my family used to have instruments. So, because I got a guitar from my great aunt, handed down to me. I want to say it was a Gibson Hummingbird or something like it. I remember it had that famous, pick guard that looked real weird on it. Didn't know what it was, didn't really take good care of it. So I don't know if that was a Hummingbird or not, but if it was, I've really messed up because I don't know where it is now. And I think, if I remember correctly, I didn't know anything about tuning down the strings on a guitar if you don't play it. So the bridge was basically pulled right off. And so around this time, my brother wanted to learn how to play guitar. But like I said, nobody in my family that I knew of played an instrument. I think my dad played, he said he used to play guitar, maybe harmonica, somebody in my family, my grandpa or somebody had an old claw hammer banjo. And I think my dad still got that at his house now. But, so that's the backstory on that. Nobody is musical. So just me, I wanted to do it to learn how to play in church and stuff like that. And it kind of budded from there. So we have now, my brother wanted to learn how to play guitar. And I don't know, I've been playing myself for a couple of years. So let's say this is around about 95, 96 as well. So I remember very vividly, I was living either living with my grandma at the time, or this was during the weekends when I would come over. Because I would come over like every other weekend because of the custody issues and everything. Every other weekend I would be with my mom or at my grandma's house or whatever. And I remember she lived in a house that had a basement. And that basement was huge. And so me and my brother, our bedroom was downstairs in the basement. And the living quarters was upstairs and everything. But that was our den, our cave, all right? And for some reason, I had started my main influence on guitar during that period, other than Brian Sutton, was Eric Clapton. The man for making guitar sound vocal, he can just hit one note and just, you will be soaring, okay? So he is the man for that. And I haven't listened to a lot of his stuff in years, but his Unplugged album and all that stuff, just mind-blowing how good it is. Eric Clapton, around that time, I was getting interested in, and for some reason I wanted to learn Tears in Heaven. And so at that time, you could get some tabs. And I remember we had these huge tab books that were like this big, and they would fold open to like 3 pages. So you had a 3-page tab spread of Eric Clapton, okay? And I've still got a book of Eric Clapton somewhere, it may be over there, but it's the Eric Clapton Unplugged, the whole thing. Matter of fact, let me see if I've got that. I want to show that to you, if I've got it over here anywhere close by. I'd like to think that I do, but it doesn't look like I do. My guess is, as probably is the truth, it is in one of my old guitar boxes. That is my best guess. It is in one of my old guitar boxes, and I wish it was not, because I have some other guitar things. Oh, nope, I think I just found it. Did I? Oh, that's the Satriani book. No, I think it's in one of my old guitar boxes. Anyway, you can find that. It's the Unplugged, and it's by Wolf Marshall. It's the Unplugged album by Eric Clapton. And before that, that was probably the next thing, tab thing that I bought. Before that, we had this big tab section, and I learned Tears in Heaven from that. And not only Tears in Heaven, but I remember learning Extremes More Than Words. That, I love that song, that little rhythm, you know, that slap. You can hear it in your head if you know the song. And that song I really wanted to learn because I love that rhythm, that slappy rhythm thing, and it just, the chords, how they were making those sound. But at that time, I was learning Tears in Heaven, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do on guitar. Very difficult. Some of the chords Clapton come up with, I didn't understand at all. One of my favorite songs of his is Circus on his Pilgrim album. Beautiful song, love that song, but it's some of the most wildest chords you'll ever hear. Some more good songs that I like are from his Reptile album. Broken Down's a good song. Come Back Baby, really good song. Broken Down's another one, kind of like Bossa Nova style maybe. Spanishy thing. Second Nature, another good song. A lot of weird seventh chords and things like that. But we were learning Tears in Heaven, and I was trying to teach that to my brother. Of all things, a beginner guitar song is not Tears in Heaven, okay? So I would just teach him chords like the D chord and different things like that that I had learned. I don't remember if he had a chord book or anything like that, but we would just go through Tears in Heaven, and he wanted to learn it too. Maybe because his bigger brother learned how to do it, I don't know. But at that time, he wanted to learn how to play, and so I was teaching him that. So there's something else I was thinking of too, and I can't remember what it was. So let's go ahead and start putting these strings on. That really has to happen. All right, so I'm using Ernie Ball Super Slinkies. I prefer 9 to 42. That is my gauge of choice on especially floating tremolos of any kind. That's what I've got on this guitar. I've got it on this guitar. But on this guitar here, I have 10s. Oh, no, excuse me. 10 to 9 to 46. They're a mix. They're hybrid slinkies is what I use on that one. And that's the orange pack. Hybrid slinkies go from 9 to 46. So these are just the ones I've been using for years. Back when I had my Strat, I used Fender bullets because their gimmick was, well, the bullets sink completely into the little hole that goes through the bridge, so you don't have to worry about the ball end kind of like messing up your tuning and stuff like that. I don't know if there's much truth to that, but I really like the sound of them and I use those. And most of the time I use Ernie Ball. They just last for a long time. Another good string brand that I recommend is Dunlop strings. They're really good strings for electric. Seems like there might have been one more, but I know those two for sure are really good. So we're going to open this up, and I've had these strings for a while, so hopefully they'll still be fresh enough. All right, so let's see where we're at. We have done 93-ish, 4-ish through 98. Now, like I said, at this time I was going to college, going into Harriman and Crossville, back and forth a lot between work and that. I would work second shift, have my schooling during the day, early morning, so it was a long process. And one thing I suggest you do, I always do, is put on my strings when they were changed. It is now almost 11:30, so I consider this the next day. Anything past like 5 o'clock, I'll consider that the next day. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write on one of these packages, doesn't matter which, the guitar I'm changing, because I want to know which one it is. This is the RG4EX1 Ibanez. And I'm going to say today is the 11th, so we're going to say it's the 12th. So 12, 12, 20. And we're going to use that for, watch me curtsy here. We use that for the date. So going to college, didn't really have a lot of focus on trying to play guitar at the time. Still played guitar, didn't really, wasn't my all-consuming thing. My all-consuming thing at the time was working and studying for college so I could make good grades and maybe get scholarships and stuff like that. Now, I haven't told you what I went to college for. Computer graphics and design. Back then, the Macs was the thing. We learned Photoshop. That was the big deal back then in those days. I had a lot of art classes. Basically, I got through enough college to get my base courses out of the way. Speech, English, intermediate algebra 1 and 2, things like that. All that other stuff. Just the base foundation stuff out of the way. And I was just getting to the art classes and the computer classes when my funds ran out and I really couldn't afford to go anymore. So I only had 2 years of college and that's it. But I had a good grade level. I don't remember exactly what it was. But I was, I don't know if I'd be considered an honor or not, but I would probably be. I was in the top 10 of my graduating class in high school with a 3.6 grade point average. I could be wrong on that, but it's somewhere around in there. Anyway, so that time I was attending college. That's all I thought about, okay? But let me just go back. I want to tell you some of these other things too. And that is what kind of guitars I had in those days. Now, I didn't obviously stick with just that junior guitar all the time. That's not what I was messing around with for the most part. I'm going to have to undo these again. I'm going to undo these one at a time. Well, no, I'll just go ahead and undo them as I've got them here. Now that bridge is lifted, I can actually get it. That's why it wouldn't come out, because the bridge was going down as I reduced the strings. So now I've got full range of motion here. So some of the guitars I had, and I've still got pictures of some of these. I can probably show you some of these. See if I can find them here. I'm going to open a new tab. See if I can find some of the old pictures that I had of these guitars. Well, one guitar in particular. Give me just a minute. I'm pretty sure I've got this on this guitar. Just going to find it. Let me check the obvious place first. Pictures. I think it'll be under miscellaneous pics. I want to say like be my first guitar or something like that. Don't see it though. Tell you what, let me just do a search for guitar in my pictures thing. Nope, that's not it. Okay, Les Paul, that's it. All right. So, let me just back out of here. And I will show you my very first electric guitar that I ever bought, okay? My very first electric guitar, can I zoom in? Okay, and then this one is the back view. I'll show it to you in just a second. Give me just a second, guys. Okay, so back to back. Got this glare over here. I can't really see anything because of it. All right, so I'm going to show you my screen. I'm just going to do it this way this time. If you can see, here is a K Les Paul. You can see the K right there. K, K-E-Y, Les Paul wannabe guitar in blazing, probably not exactly candy apple red, but somewhere close to that. I got this. I wish I knew what year this came out, what year I had this. I don't know when it was. This probably had to be around 98, maybe 96, 97. I was young at the time, wanted to know how to play electric guitar, wanted to learn electric guitar, wanted to be able to play it because of Eric Clapton, and because at the same time I was learning about Stevie Ray Vaughan and Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Both of those guys blew it away for me. Stevie Ray Vaughan would whip. I remember watching the Austin City Limits special. He'd whip that guitar around his back, play those, play Texas blues behind his back on that SRV signature guitar. The time when he had broke a string and his guitar tech came out and handed him a new guitar in like 2 seconds, he had already got the guitar and plugged the cord back in, didn't miss a beat. Amazing stuff. Stevie Ray Vaughan was it for me back then. Him and Clapton. And Stevie Ray Vaughan also, I remember getting a lot of his VHSs at the time. I still got a bunch of these on VHSs, by the way. I don't know if the VHS ever comes back in style, I'll have these tapes to watch again. But the Live at the El Macombo, where he played Lenny, amazing song. Texas Blues, the Austin City Limits stuff, and the behind the scenes lost tapes kind of thing. And then later on, years later, it was the Live at Montreal double disc edition. I think I've still got that on DVD. I need to go back and watch a lot of this stuff. I really get excited thinking about it. But so that was the K guitar. You can see this is my room at the time. Okay, so this is the bedpost. We had a let me think. We had a bunk bed. Okay, so if you look at this picture, here's the top of the bottom bunk. Here's the bottom of the top bunk, excuse me. That's the bottom, this whole bedpost. This is my bed. My stepbrother always slept on top, and I would sleep on the bottom bunk, okay? We got our, I guess that's our laundry or something. I don't know what that is. And there's probably my shorts, my denim shorts. And my desk I had at the time, I had a little cup holder here. There's some guitar polish, I think. Maybe one of my Bibles, some books. All kinds of stuff that I had here. I used to keep file folders in that desk here. By the way, if you see this right here, that's the caricature of me that I have on my wall still. It's right over here. You can't see it, but this is my kind of like wall of guitar legends. You may have seen it before, but it's the caricature, and the signature is by a guy named Steve Gibson, and this was 1999, okay? So I know this was during the time that I was in college. So I had to be in college at the time because that's when I got this caricature. They were actually having this caricaturist artist come in and do people's pictures. And I was one of the few that was able to do that, fortunately. Weird. So this was in 99 then. So I was in college but still living at home, okay? So this is the first electric guitar I had. So This had to be around 98, somewhere around in there. I went to the local music store and got this guitar, and it had one of those hard, I forget what this type of bridge is called. It's not Gibraltar, I don't think. But it's the hardtail where it's got the raised, kind of saddles on it, and then the actual pole piece back here that is anchored to these two screws. I don't know what that's called, but anyway, the Les Pauls, I guess, have them. And here's the back. It had this cream color for this. A nice little neck. This guitar was a piece of junk. To be honest with you. Hated that guitar. I think that is the guitar that put me off of Gibsons forever. I don't like Gibsons only because they have huge necks. This guitar, the main thing about it, I hated it would not stay in tune. Would not stay in tune. I don't even remember how it sounded. I don't remember what it sounded like, but it would not stay in tune. Okay, so that is my first ever electric guitar. I bought that with my own money, probably from taxes. Some of the jobs I had back in the day, I remember at that time probably, I was working at a local newspaper, and that's where I learned how to lay out pages. We used PageMaker. Used to love that program. Anybody out there who knows what PageMaker is, leave a comment below. PageMaker rocked back then. At that time, I was a senior. We started learning PageMaker when I was a senior in college, 98, and we used that to lay out our yearbook. So I was actually the editor in chief, I think, during 97. And then I had a co-editor in 98, I want to say. I could be wrong. But we was the top layout designers. People would put the layouts on these big graph pages, and we would go out and lay that out in PageMaker. Get all the pictures and everything in the computers. And that was my heyday of computers. A lot of things happened back in these days. I learned a lot about computers, Macs mostly. Windows came later and then left a few years back because I hate Windows. Mac is my thing. But anyway, a lot of side stuff went on during that time. But anyway, around this time, got this electric guitar around 99. Hated it. Ended up scrapping it and getting rid of it. And ended up buying the guitar that I love. And I don't want to say I wish I still had it, but I will say that it was one of the best guitars I ever had. Loved that guitar, okay? So let me go over here. Go back to my Finder. I gotta find the right folder so that I can open this up for you. Okay, here we go. Let me stop sharing my screen here so it won't be giving you seasickness. I'll share it with you here and again in just a second. I've got to find my other guitar, my Strat. There we go. Okay. So let me open this one. And then let me open okay, I'll just do this. We'll do this. That'll be the easiest probably. So back over here, let me just show you my screen again. You'll be able to see what I used to call Little Blues, all right? This is Little Blues. This is what it first looked like. Let me zoom in because this you can't really see that. I love this decal. I saw this decal on a car, the back of a car in the window. Saw this decal and loved it. And I thought they had a smaller version of it, and I wanted to get that so bad. And I ended up putting that on my guitar. So this is the decal on the guitar that I had. This was a Strat I bought. It was a Mexican-made Strat. If you can see, if we scroll up just a little bit, zoom out, you can see Fender MIM Strat. That's Little Blues. I called them Little Blues because that was my Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan days, right? So if you can see down here, there's a celluloid pick, which I didn't know anything about picks back in those days, but that's the pick I used and I thought it looked so cool. This was a standard pick guard, but I went ahead and bought it later, and I actually have it on my wall as well. That's one of my memorabilia. I read something online where what you did is you would bake it in the oven for so many minutes. That was really slow, and what happens is it would shrink so that the holes would line up, and that totally didn't work. Ended up having to forget about that. So this fit this guitar, but I think I did that for another guitar to see if it would fit, and it never did. I don't know, but anyway, to my recollection, this is the only Strat that I can remember ever having. But this is what it used to look like. It had this purloy pick guard. You can't see it in the middle, but I had 3 single coils. Ended up changing it later on to this. You can see I have a DiMarzio chopper here and a DiMarzio Tone Zone S. This is I think chopper S. I think it's an S for single coil size, but it's still humbucker. And then the Tone Zone S. That's when I got introduced to, you know, custom pickups and things like that. And this, I love DiMarzio from day one. Those are the guys I love pickups wise. The only other ones that I would probably, I don't like Seymour Duncans as much, and that's what I have back here in this guitar right here. I don't really like those as much. They're a little bit spankier than I'd like for a humbucker sounding guitar. But the Tone Zone I actually have in the other guitar over here, the Zebra one. I have a Norton in the neck, Air Norton, and a Tone Zone in the bridge, and I love the Tone Zone. That tone is just something else. So ended up modding that myself and got this from what I had mentioned earlier in my previous video, which was my guitar memory box. I went to it used to be axewraps.com, but now it's axewrap.com, AXEWRAP.com. And I uploaded a custom logo, which at the time was this Texas Blues guitar logo from a course that I had made. Now this is probably had to happen 2010, 11-ish, something like that. And I can very easily find out when it was because I actually have the video when I put the Axe Wrap on. So let me go check that real quick, and it will be easy to find. The Axe Wrap. That is 2013 when I actually installed that, okay? So I installed that in 2013. And how are my levels? Check 1, 2, still good. All right, good deal. So 2013, I ended up installing this Axe Wrap, and this was a logo of my course, which was at that time basically brand new. 2000. Did I actually install that Axe Wrap? It had to have been in this house. It had to have been in this house. Let me check it real quick. This was during the time that I was learning Linux, and I actually, I want to go back and watch this now. This is during the time. Let me go ahead and show you what's going on here, all right? So this is me actually installing it, and what I did was take off the other logo. I hated doing that, but if you put it over that, then that would be an imprint, and it wouldn't look right. So I had to eventually take that off, and I can't really tell by this video. Well, now I can. You see this? See this? This curtain here? That curtain is in this room. So I did install that here. That's amazing. I think it was around 2011 when I came out with Texas Blues guitar. We're going to get to that in a minute. But this is the other guitar, my main guitar. I actually sold this guitar, I want to say it's 2 years ago now, to a guy in, and I always get this wrong. He'll watch this later. Forgive me, I always get this wrong. It's like in Scotland somewhere, I want to say. Or it's like on the Scotland, United Kingdom area. He was willing to buy it. He was willing to pay for shipping. I sold it to him, shipped it off to him, and ended up using that guitar to help purchase this one, which is the Ibanez AZ242BC, which I've been using for a couple years now. All right, and this video, you can find that. Just look up Axe Wrap on my channel, and you can see that now. I've got so many windows open here now, it's hard to figure out where I need to be. All right, so that's what that is. If I go back to my Finder, I can see that's this guitar, all right? And there's a better view of it right here anyway. So you can see this. At the time, I was using a fat finger. I remember seeing that, I think, I want to say Billy, oh, his name just left me. Billy Sheehan. I want to say he was using that, and that's where I learned about that from. That was supposed to increase sustain to your headstock, increase mass to your headstock, so that the sustain would be there, and you would get your notes would sustain longer. Okay, so that's Little Blues. That was my main axe from 2001. I think I bought that for $299, if I'm not mistaken. I bought that, and I bought a Crate GFX 15 amp, and I had that for a long time until I sold it about 4 or 5 years ago. What I used to do is I sell what I have to upgrade. Okay, so I sell things that I have, and then I save that money and save some more money, and then buy something bigger. So with this guitar, I had that in 2001. I bought it, and I sold it probably a couple years ago. So 2018, 2017, somewhere around in there. Had that for years, almost 20 years, really, if you think about it, because next year will be 20 years. But that was my main guitar for the longest. And I used that guitar, I was discovered on YouTube in about 2011, I want to say. That's the number that comes to my mind. 2012, I got married to my wife, Melissa. And I've been here at this house pretty much ever since. 2011, I used to live at an apartment before that. And somebody discovered me on YouTube. And it's actually a company called Guitar Zoom. A lot of you people out there know what that is because you had this course on Guitar Zoom before I ever came out with it. The deal was that when I first did the recording of this Texas Blues guitar, it was my first ever recording project. It was in Memphis, Tennessee. It was 4 hours away, longest drive of my life because it was just 2 hours straight. Ridiculous. I was in a rental car that didn't have cruise control. My leg was on fire at the time I got down there. Anyway, long story short on that, he found me on YouTube, asked if I would come down there because he wanted to start, he had his own, it's not Steve Stein, it's another guy, Dan Denley is his name. He's the one that started the company. And he hired me to come down to Memphis, paid for my hotel stay, paid for my gas, all this good stuff. I used a rental car to go down there for insurance. And so we recorded like 2 days, 13 hours of footage, and condensed it down to about, I want to say it's about a 6-hour course. So I ended up having, the conditions where I would get the rights to sell the course the way I wanted to. So I ended up making my own site, secretsoftexasbluesguitar.com, which you can still get the course from me at that website. That's Texas Blues Guitar, and that's the guitar I used in that. And all of my old newsletters back in those days in 2013 and everything were of these, the footage was of this guitar. I still have those in archive, by the way. They're not released to the public. I thought about making some courses on those. I may later in the future. I don't know. I've got some other things I'd like to work on first. But that is that guitar. Okay, so as far as acoustic guitars, really quick, I had that junior guitar, and then I remember me and my uncle, Tony, we went to pick out, I think it was at Lay Simpson Furniture, because they were kind of like a pawn shop. You'd walk in and they had guitars on the wall, but in the main floor they had furniture everywhere. I want to say it was Lay Simpson. It was something started with an L, and I want to say it was Lay Simpson. But anyway, we went in there. My grandma actually bought that guitar for me, and I picked it out myself and started playing it for years. I don't know whatever happened to that guitar. I don't know what happened to the guitar, which I hate because it'd been nice to still have. But then, around 95, 96, the guitar I was playing was the Fender Malibu. Now, I still have it. It's over in the corner, and I haven't played it in years, and I've been wanting to get that thing out. I've got it detuned so that we can, I can play it in those nice, the string, the B string has a certain resonance when you drop tune it, and I've got it drop tuned so that it will not hurt the bridge, because the strings have been on there forever. It's time to change those strings as well. But there's a video on YouTube as well of me playing that guitar, and I can show that to you real quick. If you go to my channel and type in, nope. I still got the old video of me selling my guitar for sale on eBay. It's unlisted now. Jam session gospel. Jam session. Okay. Maybe gospel jam. That hurts. I just found this the other day. Farmer's Market. Bluegrass jamming at Farmer's Market. Okay, so let me just show you this one. Pull that over here and you can see it. This guitar. By the way, are you still seeing me? That was me showing off the new tuners. See those tuners? Those look amazing. Yeah, those are awesome. I got those on eBay. I don't know if I ever would remember how to get in touch with this guy, if he's even still doing this or not, but I love those. My tuners were getting so bad. When I took them off and changed them, one of them had completely fell apart. That's how old they were. I got this guitar back in '95, about the time we started playing. This was one of the presents that they gave me. We all got new guitars. Me and my stepbrother got the same model, the Malibu. I think his was called either a Malibu or something else, but it was the same thing. This is the guitar that had the Stratocaster headstock. And I don't know what this guitar is worth nowadays, but I remember picking it out and they bought it for me. I think it was $2.99 as well. And I remember we had that Eagle decal. That was one of our signature trademarks. My dad bought these decals for us and got these, and we all put them on our guitars. And my stepbrother who played bass, I think he ended up using JC's old bass, or he may have, no, I think he ended up getting a white bass. His bass was white, somehow it was new. So this is me jamming on my car at this time at the Farmer's Market in Cookeville, Tennessee. And the trunk is open so that I can hear the music and so that it can play through. I don't know if you guys will hear this or not. Probably not. But I'm playing along with King of Kings Network, I think. And this is in 2010. Okay, I started YouTube, by the way, in 2007. I have that on record. I've got a, it doesn't show that nowadays when you start YouTube, if it's beyond a certain date, but it's April, I think, of 2007. And I've got that on one of my screenshots of some analytics that I have, and that's proof that I was on there. I started YouTube when YouTube started, pretty much. Okay, so, man, the time is getting on, and I have not got anything done. But anyway, we've had fun. I think we've had fun. So I can close that out. But that, yeah, when I got that Strat, I was so tickled. Because now Strats, the Mexican ones, today are $500, $5.99, I think, for the standard Strat. I got it for $300. Ended up getting a case. I ended up getting an amp with it. And I think I walked out of the store with maybe just under $400 spent. And I remember because that was my tax money. I went and used my tax money. My dad went with me. It was a store in Crossville called Strings and Things. My stepbrothers know exactly what I'm talking about. Joe Curley, I think, was his name that owned the place. Strings and Things. This is back in those days, and they had. I remember you walked down the hallway, and they had a line of guitars in stands in the middle of the hallway, and then around the edges, the other guitars were on the walls. And they had some amps and everything in like a room next to it. And that's where I went and got my amp. I wanted to have the whole package. I wanted to have everything. So I got my picks, got my guitar. I think it was a gig bag. I don't know if it was a hard shell. I think it was a gig bag. And the Crate GFX 15 amp, because I wanted an amp that had all these effects, which it had chorus, delay, reverb, slapback, flanger, phaser, all that stuff. And it's one of the most amazing clean sounding amps I've ever heard. Love the clean tones on that amp. So that was my journey up to that point. A lot of stuff going on here. A lot of stuff I'm talking about. And so that was me and my guitar there. And still have this guitar. One of these days I'm going to get that out. And probably going to be soon because I really want to show you guys that guitar again and just play around with it. Just change some strings or something like that on it. How are my levels looking now? Check 1, 2. Still good. How's my battery looking? Battery's looking good. Hopefully this thing will last for a long time. All right, time to take a sip and kind of regather my bearings here. It is getting late. I wanted to get this done. Okay, strings. I have to do some strings. Gonna have to get some of this stuff done. So, Let me just try to start this. Oh, that's right. This is a Floyd-Rose style guitar, locking tremolo, so you don't feed it through the bottom like you usually do. You lock the thing in. What I'm going to do, I've never done this, and I'm kind of scared to do it, but I'm going to try this. I've seen a lot of people lately put the ball end at the top over here. And so they would use the ball end to kind of lock it in there. And I want to try it, but I've always been scared because I'm like, how do you know how long of slack to leave? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to feed it through, and here's the ball. And if you're locking it in here, then I'm probably just going to leave enough slack to the back of the bridge. Cut that off. That way I know I have just enough. And if it wraps around a few times, that's fine. You want to have a few wraps. But that's probably what I'm going to do. With the thicker strings, I'll probably go a little bit further. Usually I do anyway, but I'm going to try that. If you don't know what you're doing, I don't know what I'm doing here on that sense. Just go by the other one that I was telling you about, the Floyd-Rose guitar thing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to line up my tuning heads so that they're going to feed into these areas here. And here's another thing about, I was mentioning earlier how we used to record a lot of videos. We used to sit and record a ton of just old cassette tapes. And what we would do, and this is just me and my brother doing skits. I remember we used to have something we used to call, and he knows what this is about, something called Goober and Dudley. Goober and Dudley. And our theme song was Wildwood Flower. Welcome to Goober and Dudley. And it was like two rednecks talking. And it was just like little one-liners. And that would be the end of it. And just like that, just really sudden. It was hilarious. And what we would do is, at the time I had that little Walkman I was telling you about. It had a variable speed playback. So we would listen to it at twice the speed. And so it would sound like a chipmunk. Something like that. And it was hilarious. And we would sit there and make tons of these. And I still got them. I still got them way back here in the closet. Back and behind everything else. I've still got all these cassette tapes that I keep thinking, one of these days I'll run those off and I'll, do that. But it just takes time. It takes a lot of time to do that. And I just don't want to do it. I don't want to have the time to do that. But anyway, so not only would we do that, we would have cassette tapes to do that with. We would also do this with videotapes. So our grandma at the time had an old VHS cassette camcorder, huge thing. And so me and my brother would go around and we would make tapes. And I don't know what happened to this other one either. It may have been another one that we had in the house that was burned down. I don't know. Somehow it disappeared. I wish I still had that tape. Maybe somewhere I do and I don't know it. That would be amazing. But I remember because when I first got this guitar, the Stratocaster I was telling you about, Little Blues, I would sit there and play, and it would be just like little skits. And some of it would be Goober and Dudley. Some of it would be like, this was the time that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was out, and Regis Philbin. We would make Regis Philbin impressions and things like that, and we would use the zoom in features. And I remember we used to have these way back in the day, in the early 90s and all this. If you look up these commercials for Pizza Hut and stuff, they would have the cups. The big thing back then was the cups. They would have the tops on them of like Yoda and, Chewbacca or whoever, stormtroopers, and they would be the toppers on the cup, these big, huge glasses for soft drinks. And so we would take the Yoda cups and the Star Wars cups, and we'd make skits with them, little puppet shows. And so I remember a lot of that stuff, and I wish I still had those videos. But that's another thing we did. I would take and practice a lot. I would do a lot of practice on cassette and use that a lot to record myself playing and see what I sounded like and everything, so I could listen back to it. And so that's one of the things I would do, and I've still got all those cassettes as well. Let me look for one other thing real quick. There's another one that I just remembered. Another guitar that I owned for a while. I don't think I ever did a video on this. Here it is. Nope. That's the, I don't have the picture of it here. I must have it somewhere else. There's a guitar I had. It's called a Washburn EA16. It's acoustic. I've actually got some tracks here that I recorded of that guitar. I mean, just little songs when I was doing some songwriting and things. And it was an acoustic guitar that had an odd sound to it. It was, if you can imagine the sound from Michael Bolton's "Said I Loved You But I Lied," the guitar solo on that, love that sound. Love that solo. It's a really good solo. And that sound was what this guitar had. And it was metallic blue. It was an EA16, I want to say MBL. MBL. M as in man, and then BL for metallic blue. I've got a picture of that somewhere. It's not on this computer, I don't think, but I've got it somewhere. It's not showing up on this Mac anywhere. Just that track. But this had a cutaway, and it was a thin line body. It was really thin, and I used to, that's another guitar that I owned during the day. It had a beautiful bridge on it as well. If you look up Washburn EA16 MBL, you should be able to find that. Matter of fact, I may just do that real quick. See if I can find it here. Should be able to find that really quick. Candy blue, there it goes. Let's do some images here. Okay, here we go. You can see this. I knew it'd come in handy for something. This guitar, I used to have this guitar. Look at that beautiful butterfly bridge. Metallic blue, had some electronics on here. Now, I forgot about this, but it had kind of like a jumbo body. Okay, so we have that picture of it. This is another picture of it. I used to love this guitar. I ended up selling it, and I think another guitar I had at the time, XLR input, I didn't even know what that was back in the day. I was like, oh, what is that? I don't know what that is. I'll never use that. But that's an MBA, or MBL, Washburn EA16 MBL, okay? So my brother ended up having a Morgan Monroe acoustic guitar, and I ended up buying that off of him. That came after the Malibu and the MBL, I think. Started using that for a while. And man, there's a lot of history here. You opened up a can of worms, Michelle V222, because there's a lot of stuff to go over. I may be up all night doing this. I don't know. I'm enjoying myself. Right now, I should be in bed, but I'm going to keep going for a little while. I don't even know if I'll get these strings done. So, let's just say we stopped at about, I was telling you about all these videos and stuff. So, let's just say we're going to do, this was about 2000, I want to say 10. That little car that I showed you earlier in that Fender Malibu where the trunk was open, that little, it was a Chevrolet, Cavalier, I think. It was a coupe. It was a two-door. Ended up selling that to my brother years ago. But I remember I'd first gotten that car as a used car, 2010-ish, somewhere around in there. And right after I got it, like a week after, me and my brother was going through town, we was driving through town, I ended up getting sideswiped by a semi-truck coming off the interstate. We were sitting there, and all of a sudden we were in these lanes, and as we were turning, the light was red. We were stopped, but it went green. As we were turning, I was turning this way, and the truck, because they have to swing wide, he ended up side-swiping me so he could turn. Long story short, this guy was very sketchy. When we pulled up to a local stock market, not like the money stock market, but actual live stock market, we pulled up. It was dead of night. Me and my brother was there. This guy is sitting in the parking lot, and as he gets out, there's two more people that get out behind him, and they leave. So he had some passengers there with him. I don't know what that was all about. I don't know if that's allowed or not on business. He comes out basically in a pair of sleep pants. He's real sketchy. Dude, you know, we can sell this out of court, blah, 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 blah. I never hear from him again. But I know where he works. So I call the company up and threaten to sue them if they do not pay up for my car, the damage that was done. So this is a huge dent on the side of my car. Luckily, it didn't affect my door. It didn't hurt my tire or anything like that. It's just cosmetic at this point. So I tell them, and they know I'm in business, and they actually say, well, we've had a few calls about this guy, and come up to our office and we'll see what we can do. And what I did was I went and had estimates of the car repair, how much it would cost. It was about $3 grand. I took it to the guy and I said, here's the estimates. This is what I want. No questions asked. They write me a check. I leave. I used that money to buy my Martin DCX1E. That's where I got my first Martin guitar. Got it from Guitar Center and ended up getting a case later on, but that's where the first Martin. I never thought I'd have a Martin, but I finally got a Martin guitar, and that's where it came from. It was mine to use. The money was mine to use, so I didn't care if it had a dent or whatever. The car was still able to run, didn't have no problems with it. I wanted that guitar, so that's what I ended up using it for. It would only cost like $600, $800, something like that. But I don't know where the other thousands of dollars went. Probably helped to pay the car off. I don't know. But anyway, let's do some string work here. This is taking a while, so let me just at least get some of these strings going, and then we'll go from there, okay? So far, I don't see anybody watching. It's probably too late for everybody. Now, like I said, I'm going to put a little slack here. Right at the end of this bridge, cut that off. I don't know how they do this, but this is the way I'm going to try it. If I mess up, I mess up. Hopefully I won't. So now I'm going to take, I don't know why they shut that up. I'm going to take, got to make sure my levels are good. I don't want to run out of battery or anything. I'm going to go ahead and take and lock this in place. Yes, I do have a little slack, but that's fine. We're going to start getting some tension on these strings because that's what needs to happen. I don't know if you heard that or not, but for me that's a good sound. That means I just got paid. I've been doing, if you're a member of my newsletter, my Bluegrass newsletter, you know about this already. But it's the announcement I was telling you about. And if you're on Instagram, you can see it. You don't want to over tighten these. You never want to over tighten those, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start winding the string. I've got it tucked under here. Yes, I received some money here. I still don't know what that's about. I'm going to have to add her to that. Let me do something real quick. I got to add somebody to one of my courses here so that they'll have access to it. Forgive me for this. We'll continue talking here just a little bit, but I want to make sure that this customer receives what they paid for, obviously, right? Nope, wrong thing. Oh, that's what I'm looking for. And just like that, she is added. Good deal. All right, so now I've got all this slack. I'm going to start winding this string. Okay, and I've got it tucked underneath this little bar here. So let's go ahead and start doing this. What I'm going to do is I usually do this way. I'll overlap, I'll go to the top, and then I'll start going to the bottom. So I'm going to let it go over the top of the ball, and then start going to the bottom of the ball. I'll do this until, trying to make sure those have enough, so they're close enough. Hopefully I'll start getting tight before I get too many winds in this. There we go. The reason it's buzzing is because there's still not enough pressure on this. Okay, I will definitely probably have to turn this over and adjust those springs, but for now I want to make sure that I've got the tension where it needs to be before that happens. Now one thing really does need to happen here. That's got to come up more. There we go. I had that locked in the wrong way. Good deal. That's more level. All right, that's the first string out of the way. Let's keep going. These strings in here, and we will resume. So let's just remember we left off with, we left off with about 2001, and I fast forwarded to 2010 because of the being discovered on YouTube and all that, but that's okay. Get a couple more strings in here, and then we'll continue talking, because there's a lot more to cover. I know there is. Go ahead and get this out. That's about the right amount of slack. Now I'm going to save these strings because Diodario has a program where they allow you to turn your strings in. And you can get, like, I don't know if you get prizes or more strings or credit or what, but you have to send in, and here's the catch, you have to send in like 2 pounds of strings. You believe that? 2 pounds of strings, okay? Okay, so, oh, wait a minute. I gotta go back. I gotta undo this. This is very important. I gotta let this go through underneath this bar here. That's very important. Don't want to do that backwards, because that bar is one of the most important parts, and why, one of the reasons why the string stays in tune where it needs to be. All right. Put that back down in there where it was. Couple things. Don't ever over tighten those too much, because you can break that little block in there, and you do not want that to happen. All right, same deal. We're going to go over, then we're going to go under. I've never done this way, but I think it'll look cool with these the ball rings like that. One thing I have done, and it looks pretty cool, it's kind of a pain, is to thread the strings through the string posts. And I think, I don't remember who that was that I've seen do that before, that I got it from, but it was pretty cool. I want to say it was either Steve Stein or Kiko Lorero that I've seen do that, but no, I think I remember who it was. It was a guy on True Fire, Steve somebody, and he does the music street theory for guitarists. That guy, I think I've seen his. He weaved the strings through the string post, and that looks really cool. That's where I got that from. Okay, which one is it? All right, we're good to go. Let's keep going. Oh, by the way, one thing I didn't show you, I just remembered. I think I've already closed it out. No, I didn't. I can look for it here again. That needs to go. Let's go back to. There we go. We can do that. Here. Okay, let me go back to this. Let me show you this real quick, and then we'll get back on it. This was from 2003, I want to say. G3 came to Nashville. And Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, and Yngwie Malmsteen was at this concert, G3 2003. They recorded a DVD and an album of the live show, and I've got both of those. Love them. And it was amazing. They came to Nashville. Me and my brother went to see them. During the early 90s, early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, me and my brother went to a lot of Steve Vai concerts, and we were somehow fortunate enough to get backstage passes. One year we went to see G3, and Joe Satriani and Yngwie Malmsteen, and Steve Vai was there. I think it was me that won the backstage passes, or it might have been him, my brother. So we got to see all those backstage passes. All this is on my guitar wall. Someday I will have to show you my guitar wall. I've never really showed you that. But I've got all these guitar posters and things like that. I've got a lot more I'd like to hang up, but I just never got to where I've done it. But we've got pictures and autographs of Steve Vai and Joe Satriani, as well as the backstage tickets that we won and different things like that. I've got a set list of one of the Vai shows, the Passion Warfare 25th anniversary. Got set list and the ticket for that. But anyway, they came to town. I've got the poster from Guitar World. Yes, Guitar World. of Steve Vai, Yngwie Malmsteen, and Joe Satriani sitting there posing for the cameramen. This was their promo pic. And I've got it, and I had them sign that. That's what these signatures are. These signatures are from Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, and Yngwie Malmsteen. And I hated to have to sell that guitar with those. That actually bumped the price up a little bit because I wanted to keep that. But the good thing is I've still got the poster, and I've got that, and their names are on that. So I've got that signed. So that's a piece of memorabilia that I really enjoy. Now, there's a close-up. What I did was I put some plastic over that so that those names would not fade. Now, obviously, Steve's there. It's faded quite a bit. But I ended up putting plastic over that once I realized they were starting to fade. That way it would protect those. Just wanted to show you that little piece, that little nugget there before we went any further. Okay, so now we're on to the G string, G string. Man, oh man. 2001. That's the Strat. Trying to think what might have happened guitar-wise during that point of time. This is always a tough thing, is getting those strings through that little slot there. Okay, just beyond the back of the bridge. All right, let's keep going here. What else? So, I'm going to think of something else that was going on during that time. Probably around early 2000s, the group Heavenly Travelers that we was playing with, my sister and my stepbrothers, somewhere around that time, maybe a little later, when we all was growing up, ended up kind of moving out and moving in different areas and didn't stay in touch as much. My sister actually married and moved out of state because she was married to somebody that was in the Army, so he had to bounce around quite a bit based on wherever they would have him stationed. And so at that time, we were still enjoying playing and singing in church. Still enjoying playing and singing in church and wanted to continue that. So me and my stepbrothers formed a group, and I think we've had several. We didn't form more than one group. We formed one group, and we've had several people kind of like join up with it, and that's called Life's Pathway. In fact, I don't have it with me here, but on my songbook for the longest, I had a picture of us playing together. Man, all these memories are coming back, and I'm remembering all this stuff. And I've got all these pictures. And here is Life's Pathway, okay? This is awesome. I can show you guys this. I'll zoom into that. There we go. Add that screen back. Hopefully that doesn't cause too bad of a hiccup. Can we still see me? Are we still going on? Is everything still working? Okay, good. Still sounds like it's low, but that's the best I can do for now, guys. But anyway, Life's Pathway. Let me show you what that looks like. Go back to my Finder here. There we go. Bingo. All right. So that's us. Life's Pathway. Here's me. This is when I had my Martin. No, I still got it, but this is, you know, when I was starting to use it. Matt Vaughn, still a good friend, good buddy of mine. Love playing music with this guy. He is super uber talented. He plays mandolin and dobro. Years ago, he started learning dobro, and he can play the fire of that. He plays good fiddle as well. JC, my stepbrother, at this time he's playing, I want to say, a Rogue guitar. No, I keep thinking of Rogue. That's wrong. It's Randall here actually played Recording King. That's what it is. Recording King guitar. I always get those two mixed up. Rogues are pieces of junk, basically, in my opinion. Very low-level guitars. Recording King are different. They were started by the same guy, if I'm not mistaken, who started Johnson Guitars. So this is kind of an offshoot of that. And he had a Recording King guitar here. Shane here had his little bass. I think this is JC's Court bass. He's since sold. I think he still got rid of that. This is Shane, my stepbrothers. That's what they look like back then. This picture was... When was this picture made? I don't have a date on it. I don't have a date of when it was. Miscellaneous pics, Lost Pathway. Let me just go here and find that picture. 2013. So I don't know if that's when. I don't know if that's when we were still playing together or what. But anyway, we played in Lost Pathway. This is our group, and this is Randall. This is Matt's dad, Randall Vaughn. Played banjo. Heck of a banjo player. Okay, we were at the front of the tomb replica in Fields of the Woods in Murphy, North Carolina. This is a wonderful, family-oriented, biblical kind of like attraction, if you want to say it that way, that you can take your family to. It has like the biggest picture of the Ten Commandments on a hillside. It's got a long altar at the top of another thing of flags and everything. It's got a whole flag thing. You just have to be there to see it. And anyway, we played together. That's Life's Pathway. That's one iteration of that. Another iteration is we were all still playing together, but it was the first iteration of it was JC, me, and Shane, and two other people. Ronnie Bowman. He ended up getting cancer and dying shortly after that. He was one of our lead singers and played banjo like you wouldn't believe. Played some awesome banjo. Introduced us to songs like Little Mountain Church House. I think he actually used to play Three Rusty Nails. It's not the Ronnie Bowman that wrote the song Three Rusty Nails, but it's a different Ronnie Bowman. And I think he sung that several times. I meant to put some guitar stuff for tuning on this, but I'm not going to fool with it. So he sung with us, and another guy named Lowell Allen sung with us. And Lowell was interesting because he played dobro, and he would take, and me and my brothers were talking about this the other day actually, he would take, and his dobro, he was kind of a fixer-upper type of guy, and an experimental type of guy. And he would take his dobro and make all kinds of mods to it, okay? He would change it up, and we used to call it the Franken dobro because it was just unreal the stuff he would do to it. He actually would take, this dobro had a headstock that was kind of like a triangle. And so he had 3 tuning keys on either side. In the middle, he put an additional string. So he had a 7-string dobro, okay? I don't know how he got the neck to work. I don't know if he like sawed a piece of wood off and attached it to the neck so that he could have that extra fret space or whatever. He did that. He put a system on his guitar so that when he moved his capo, it would be precisely in tune on the fret where it needed to be. And he would, what it was a huge long screw the length of the neck on the side. I remember this. And he had on that, he would screw nuts, and each nut would be at a fret so that he could slide that capo over and it would land. He would lock in place. Amazing. He was a really good inventor, so to speak, of things like that. His brother actually is, I think, known worldwide. And I want to say his name's Larry. I could be wrong. It might be Bill Allen. Bob Allen, maybe. He's known worldwide for selling and making lap steel guitars. And he's from Livingston, Tennessee. So Lost Pathway was me, JC, Shane, the original 3 from Heavenly Travelers. Then you had Ronnie Bowman and Lil Allen on banjo, and then dobro. That don't look right, but it's gonna have to be, looks like. I don't know if I'll ever do this ball thing again. This is kind of weird. I just do the old-fashioned way. Uh-oh. Say it ain't so. I think I just put the A string on there. I'm going to have to... That's not good. Where's all the other ones at? All right, what have I done? I've got my 9, my 11, my 16. 9, 11, 16. The next one was supposed to be 24. Here's 24. Nothing in the pack. What'd you do to me, Ernie Ball? I've never had that hat before. Did I take it out and not realize what I've done with it? That's weird. Oh, there it is. It's in the flow. I unraveled it. Unravel it. Oh no! All right, folks. This is why I say watch the other video, because this is not a good way to do this. All right, I'm gonna have to redo this. Don't like that at all. What I'm gonna have to do is take that back off and hope I didn't bend it too bad, and hope I didn't cut too much off since it's a thicker string. So let's do that real quick. Tell you what, let's do this. No, can't do that. All right, I'm gonna have to start paying attention, guys. So Lost Pathway, the first iteration was those, and then the second was, like I said, Randall and Matt was added later. And we were Lost Pathway for several years. And then once again, we ended up going different ways. This was about, let me just go back to about, because this is the earliest I can remember, go back to about 2008. I ended up playing with a group called Wilder Mountain. And we made 2 albums together, 2 CDs. We'll get into that in a minute. But 2008, another big change happened, and I started actually taking bluegrass very, very seriously. Found out about Tony Rice, started watching everything I could about Tony Rice. Started watching everything I could about Tony Rice's influences. Clarence White, Doc Watson. Started watching more Brian Sutton stuff. Ended up finding homespun tapes and fell in love with all the stuff they had there. Bought just about every Tony Rice video I could find. Bought just about every Steve Kaufman video I could find. I knew about him before, but I never really researched what he could do and what he was doing. Found a lot of good stuff from Steve Kaufman and bought several of his videos. The one that I recommend the most to my players, if you want to level up your bluegrass skills, is Picking Up Speed. Magnificent DVD on how to get your right hand to pick better, to work. And because that's most of the time it's the right hand that's the problem, not the left hand. So I ended up watching every bluegrass DVD I could from Homespun. Found Brian Sutton's Secret to Successful Flat Picking, Tony Rice's Master Class. Found on about this time YouTube was happening, so a lot of videos were being released. So that's when I found Tony Rice unit and the Bluegrass All-Stars at, I think it was Merle Fest. There's videos of the festivals that they played at, and this was one of the most popular ones. It was when he was with his band Tony Rice Unit, and it was at Merle Fest, like I said. Okay. Oh man, I've really hurt the integrity of this A string. All right, I think I might have to cut off a little more than that. I want it to be just a slightly longer than what the other ones are, but not that long. So I ended up taking my bluegrass playing seriously, and it was then at that time I was starting to go to bluegrass festivals. And so they had a festival in Allgood, and so I went to that one. They had festivals at 9 Mile in Pikeville, went to that one. Went to the festivals, Smithville Jamboree. I remember entering a lot of those competitions. And just taking bluegrass seriously. I mean, really seriously. Playing it, learning all I could about it. Really started leveling up my skills. And about that time, you can see on YouTube a lot of the videos I created at that time. Okay, so that's where you'll see videos like the backtracking video that I have. If you'll just do a quick search on YouTube for backtracking on my channel, backtracking, Willow's song, Her Love Is Like a Flower. That's one of my favorite ones. Had a good time with that one. I need to find the solo and make tabs for that. That's a good one. All those, you'll be able to see, that was around the time, anything from 2008 onwards, around the time I started taking bluegrass seriously. And like I said, I started playing in a band called Wilder Mountain. We had met at the Allgood Festival, I think, and started wanting to get together in a band because my brothers and I, it had been so long since we played in a group by that time, I was still itching to play with somebody. And bluegrass was my love at the time. Love bluegrass gospel, love anything that would make me be able to play better in church and just in general. Just loved being able to play guitar. And so, well, this is going to be tough. Man, that's a thick string. Probably the last time I'll do a ball end string change like this. This is crazy how difficult this is to do this. Maybe it's because I'm talking at the same time. I don't know. But probably won't be doing that again. All right, so like I said, I met these folks at a bluegrass festival locally, and we would just go and we started up as a band. We started playing and really enjoyed getting to play with those guys. Had a real good time with them. We played together for like 4 or 5 years. We ended up getting a TV special on our local news station. We made 2 CDs together. Some of the best music we've ever created, in my opinion. And so, like I said, I was playing with Wilder Mountain at the time. Wanted to get and start playing again with bands and different things like that. And so that was my outlet to do that. So I would play, starting with the Fender Malibu, because that was, I think, before I got the Martin guitar. And then sometime after that, the first album that we played together and we cut was called, it was just called Wilder Mountain, I think. Yeah, it was just called Wilder Mountain. Bluer Shade of Green. Actually, it was based on a song that I'd written called Bluer Shade of Green. And the Fender Malibu was the guitar that I played on that album. Then the second album, I'd already had my Martin guitar by then. I was excited to cut an album with a new guitar, and actually top of the line guitar in my opinion. They don't have the DCX-1E model anymore. Now they got the DCX-2E, but it's basically the same as what I have. So we started playing guitar with a Martin, and we cut the second album. It's called Wilder Mountain Coal. One of my favorite albums I've ever cut to this day. But that brings me to another one back in 2002, 2001. So now we're going back and forth because I'm remembering these things. So really quick, bluegrass, I started getting serious about it in 2008. Joined Wilder Mountain around that time. Ended up later on, probably about 2013. Because I've been playing with the Gilbert family now for about going on 8 years. It's been 7 years, I think, this January. So going on 8 years now, going on 7, going on 8, I don't know, somewhere around there. It was 2013 when I started playing with them. Around that time, I couldn't handle playing with 2 different groups. It was a nightmare. So I ended up wanting to play gospel music, straight gospel rather than bluegrass and gospel mix and all that. So I went with the Gilbert family, and the Wilder Mountain disbanded. And so I've been playing with the Gilbert family ever since. But let's go back to 2001-ish again, because at that time, I was young. I was going to, I think by that time I was living on my own. And me and my brother William was in a group called Fog Light. This is a group that was a contemporary Christian group, and I was using my Stratocaster guitar, my little blues guitar. We was playing. We got together to play at a place called Crossroads, not Crossroads Music, but it was just called Crossroads, and it was at the basement kind of a music store called Earl and Jane's. Now, people in Cookeville are going to know exactly what I'm talking about, but it was called Earl and Jane's Music, and they still had that same building. I know exactly where it is, but now it's a museum on Broad Street. So this place was called Crossroads, and the lady that owned it was called Nonna Sue. We called her Nonna Sue. She may still be living. I don't know. It's been years since I've seen her. But basically, it was kind of a place for troubled kids. I'll just put it that way. A place for kids to get away and not be on drugs. Okay. They had some pool tables so that people could come in and have, games and stuff. It was non-alcoholic, anything like that. But it was just a place to kind of get together and I guess blow off steam. I don't know. But we would get together as our group, and it was a Christian-based place. We would get together and we would play music, contemporary gospel, contemporary Christian music, at this little, underground scene, if you want to call it that. And I still have the old tracks of our demo tapes, and I remember the effects we used back then. My brother, he used the little bean, the Line 6 pod. There was a bean shape, and it was that red color, and he used that. It didn't own it, but there was the guy that was actually recording our demos who lended it to him, and he used it on a solo or two of that record. That was when I wrote 2 or 3 songs that were released on that demo. It was never released publicly. I still have the songs. I don't know if I've released them on Patreon or anything like that, but that's another good idea, trying to release those on Patreon. Since I don't have rights to some of these songs, I can't really release them. Some of them I did write, so I do have the rights. But I don't know with the legalese with all that, because other people recorded it and everything else. One of these days, maybe that'll become public. I don't know. That'd be cool. But we recorded 5 songs for a demo. It was me, Corey Willis, Matthew Thompson, or Thomas, one or the other. Melissa Piper. Loved Melissa. She had a beautiful voice. She was perky and loved being around her. She was the lead singer. She was the lead person. So me and then my brother. It was 5 of us. Me, Corey, Patrick, Melissa, Matthew. 5 of us. Matthew, I remember he loved his Stratocaster. He had got an actual American. I was so jealous. He got an American Strat, and he got a pewter colored. It's the gray, kind of metallic gray colored. It was one of the first American Strats to ever be made. He got one of those, and I was so jealous. I didn't care for the color, but the fact that it was like a high dollar, high grade Strat, I really wanted one of those, But we got together and we wrote some songs. And we played at one of the local Nazarene churches that Matthew's dad pastored at the time. And had a really great time there. Had a really good time, enjoyed playing together. And so, yeah, in 2001, we formed Fog Light. Now, that stands for Flames of God Living in Greatness, Holiness, and Truth. Fog Light. It was all lowercase. I remember that. And so many good memories. This has been a 2-hour long video of my history of guitar, my guitar journey, okay? Let's see where we're at on the guitar. Speaking of guitars, okay, let's see where we're at here. All right. I didn't think to grab a pick, but that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tune this bad boy up. We got to tune it up before I do any locking tuners or anything like that. Got to tune it up. So we're going to go ahead and put my tuner on there. If I don't just go ahead and put the battery plumb out of it. Hope you guys later on have enjoyed this. So far there's been no viewers, which is kind of mind-blowing because I've announced it and everything, so I don't know what the deal is with that. But hopefully you guys will enjoy this later. This is the first ever guitar journey. Now, I tried to find this, but there's a notebook that I had. It's called the Chub or the Stub or something. It was like that thick. A little spiral bound notebook about that big. And I tried to write my guitar memoirs, my musical memoirs, and I was looked everywhere for that notebook, and I can't find it. I wanted to actually read that to you, but I don't know where it is. Maybe one of these days, if I find it, rummaging through things, if we move or something like that, I'll find it and I'll do a video on that. But this is basically me telling my autobiographical journey on that. So let's tune this guitar as best as we can, considering. All right, I'm gonna get it up to tune using the method that I described in that video of how to tune the Floyd-Rose style guitar. And I'm using this guitar when I talk about it. It's on F sharp now. We don't need that. We need it back down to E. If I was really tuning this up, I would not be having it flat like this because gravity pulls it down. I would have it playing position. But just for tuning up, just basic tuning and stretching and all that, I would be using, I'm just letting it lay flat. I want both those to match. Then I would go to A. Let me just go through all the strings. I shouldn't be going back like that. The good thing about this is I don't have to worry about clipping off guitar strings at the end because they're already, I don't have to worry about clipping them because you got the ball ends over here. So that's one, I guess, benefit of that. Let's see, now we're going to G. Yeah, G is nothing. Now, if you probably don't even see this, but this right here is lifting up again. So this is loose. So now what I have to do is go back in here. Please work. If it doesn't, I have to put that extra spring in again. I don't want to have to do that. But I have to tighten these claws up for this spring to work here. I don't want to have to do it, but I have to do it to get it to work. So I'm going to get my trusty set of little bitty screwdrivers here. Start working on that claw. Now this is probably going to be too tight. No, it ain't. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to have a tighter, a bigger, definitely a bigger screwdriver than what I've got. So, give me just a second. I'm going to go find that. I'll be right back. I want to say it's already in here. Well, I'm definitely not getting bed on time. It is almost, it's about 20 to 1 here. It's all right. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not even tired. We Went to watch some Christmas lights tonight. And had a big old thing of coffee. So I'm kind of wired anyway. I thought I had that screwdriver in here, but I'm not seeing it. And it's not in my maintenance thing. I don't see it there. Now I'm wondering where I put it. Alright, so I'm going to mute myself again and I'm going to go look for this thing. Hopefully I will be back soon. So there you go. If I can get my wireless thing out to mute it. Alright, I am back, and it is definitely much cooler out there. But if I have the door open, then the cat will be in here and all that good stuff. Found it. I'm going to go ahead and leave it in here from now on. Let me double check the sound, make sure everything's working okay now that I'm back in the room. Okay, good. We are back. And we'll hide that again. Alright. So I'm going to have to take this claw and tighten it up a little bit. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. It's too narrow. A screw in there. It's not going to work. Plan B. What am I going to do here? The only thing I can think of is to take this screwdriver, and I've done this before. I don't like doing it, but I've taken the needle nose and turn it with that. I think it's actually turning. I'm going to try to keep it as level as I can. Yeah, it's turning. Folks, I'm not sure if this is going to work or not. I really wish it would, because it doesn't make sense that a guitar cannot use two springs and tune up just fine. I know I used to have two springs and it worked just fine, but look, this thing is coming way, way too far up. If I keep going, it's going to do the same thing. So what I may have to do is tune these down. Tune these down a little bit. Let's do about half a turn. Get that bridge where it needs to be. And then tighten the claws on the back. Now I don't have much room at all to tighten this claw. I mean, I do not have a whole lot of room. And that claw is so deep in there. That it does not want to come out. I mean, it does not want to turn at all. It's in there good, that's for sure. And I've said this before, but it may be that the springs just don't have enough tension. Could be that very thing. See if that does it. I'm feeling I'm still gonna have 3 springs in there. I'm not exactly sure how to fix that. This spring doesn't feel too stiff at all. Okay, guitar journey. What else have we got to do? I'm gonna put that away. I made that just now. I'm going to call it quits pretty soon, people. My mind's where I can't think. That's a good sign if it's already close to E. Now the bad thing about this is too, well, I don't remember what I was going to say. They come back to me. And what I want to do now is I can look at my bridge here and see that after I've tuned it into standard, it's messed up again. It's too far up. It's not level. It's actually getting close. So what I'm going to do is tighten it up just a little more. Hopefully that will fix it. If not, what I would have to do is, as much as I don't want to, I would have to take and add another spring, What I might could do though is add a spring, take this one out. This one just doesn't feel very tight. I might just have to do that. I find it pretty aggravating that one side turns like butter and the other one like glue. I mean, it does not want to move. I'm having to really force it to turn. Thankfully, it's not stripping the screw. A little bit more. I don't have much more room to move in here. I do not at all. Because I want to get this level, and it does not look level at all. Still doing it. Man, I don't want to have 3 springs in this thing. This bridge became a pain. Oh, you probably can't see that, but it is really up there. And I don't understand it because I used to have 2 springs in this thing and it worked just fine. Just fine. The problem is if I keep doing this, I don't know if it's ever going to balance. I mean, I don't have much more to go. There's just not much of the screw left to be seen. Once I get to that point, that's it. You can't go anymore. The only thing to do is add a spring. The only way to do that is back it out enough to where you get a spring on there. I can't stretch it that far by hand. It's hard to do this and think about my guitar journey like I was telling you. Oh no, that's not good. I think I'm stripping the screw. There we go. Yeah, that's about as far as I want to go in that cavity. I mean, look at the screws back here. See how close they are into the cavity? They don't have much more to go. I mean, that's it. Maybe an inch of sticking out. I mean, that's too much. But how in the world? I mean, it didn't even bring this thing back at all. Only thing I know to do at this point is add that to the spring. I do not know what to do. It's like it's not affecting it at all. Like I said, just add the other spring and hope it's tighter than that one. Yeah, because I'm just going to have to tighten these up even more, and it's going to bring that bridge up even more, which is not ideal at all. The one thing I usually do is just go really down and then try to tune it back up. Sometimes, I don't know, it seems like that works. I get this bridge down into the cavity, then try to tune it back up. It's like it resets it somehow. I don't know. Like this is way down in here now. I think that's more than it's supposed to be. But now it kind of resets it, so let's see where we're at. So we're out again. So what I'm going to try to do is go from the reverse end. So instead of going from E, the outer strings in, I'm going to go from inner strings out. See what happens. Yeah, it's already going up again. Yeah, that's not going to work. So I have to add another spring or at least replace the one I've got. So let's go all the way back down as much as we can. Get that bridge lowered. And see if this other spring is going to be the right size here. All right, so now we flip it over. This is the trial and error that happens when you have this kind of thing. That is way low. We have to come down even further, I think. Just let that spring fall out. Get that way in the cavity so it'll come closer enough to get that spring out of there and put another one in. And this is not going to hurt the strings because it's actually stretching them. What I need to do now, I don't know how bad that's going to, I don't think that's going to hurt too bad. I need to get that out of there. There we go. Take this. Oh boy, people. I don't think diagonal is the way to go. That might be though. If this spring is tighter, then we're in business. If not, I have to do something else. Time to tune the bad boy up again. Go up, 2, 3, 4 turns a piece. This is just to, you know, just to test it. Okay, just get them tight enough to do something with. Okay, now I'm going to try going from the E again. Now I'm going to try to get them closer. See, I can't do this and talk about Guitar Journey at the same time. I think I ended up at Wilder Mountain 2008, 2009-ish. I'm sure there's more in between. I've actually been pondering this question since I've seen it and for the last day or two. So I'm not exactly sure. Not a whole lot left. Like I said, I began to get really serious about bluegrass in 2008. On upwards in 2013, I was with Wilder Mountain. 2013, I was with the Gilbert families until the present day. So I'll tell you another thing I can talk about. In 2001, another game changer for me was, and milestone, was seeing Steve Vai and Joe Satriani for the first time. And this wasn't live, it was actually on their videos and DVDs. Back then we had like, I want to say it was Tower Records. We had a place in the mall called Tower Records. But this was called something else. It wasn't Sam Ash, it was something before Sam Ash. CD, it might have been CD something, I don't remember. But anyway, I found out about G3. It was the first G3, 97. So I found out about that and seen Steve Vai, and I think it was through Guitar One magazine. I used to be a subscriber to those, and I think it was through them that I actually learned about Steve Vai and Joe Satriani. And if you go on YouTube and look up Joe Satriani, Steve Vai G1 or Guitar One Jam, you'll see them in the Harmony Hut playing together. And I still have that on audio just to listen to every now and then. It's a really, really good jam session they had together. Some beautiful music. And I had learned about Steve Vai through G3. And so when he came out with Alive in Ultra World, I think that's the double disc, as the album is called, in 2001. And then Joe Satriani back to back came out with Live in San Francisco. All bets were off. I was into electric guitar and really wanted to play it even more so in that style, learn more. So I consumed everything by them, consumed everything by more people like them. I never was much of an Yngwie Malmsteen fan. I knew a little bit about Dream Theater, but Steve Vai and Joe Satriani were it for me. And then Paul Gilbert came along, me learning about him. That was around the mid 2000s, 2008, 2009, somewhere around there too. And rocked my world with all the Racer X stuff. Mr. Big not so much, but still a little bit, because he was still a bad shredder. Found a bunch of stuff on YouTube, the Terrifying Guitar Trip, Intense Rock Volume 1, Intense Rock Volume 2, which is really good as well. All these other instructional videos, and then he came out with Get Out of My Yard. That album was around 2005, I think. Amazing guitarist. Really made me want to hone my chops even more. And ever since then, I've been just going upwards, trying to find new people. Right now, I really like the playing of Al Joseph, a really clean player. But the guy for me right now is Marco Sfogli. And Italian guitar player. I learned about him through Spotify. I actually had Spotify playing in the shower one day, and this was about 3 years ago, I'd say by now. And learned about him through that. I think it was Still Hurts, his first single from There's Hope, that album. Couldn't get enough of the guy. Still can't get enough of the guy today. Marco Sfogli. If you don't know him, please check him out. I actually was fortunate enough to have lessons. Let's talk about present day stuff. Had lessons with Marco in March because of all this COVID stuff. He was available and had lessons with him. 4 lessons, 1 month. I treasure those to this day. I actually recorded those. He gave me permission to record them, provided I don't share them with anyone, which I'm not going to, because that's his stuff. Amazing guitarist, and those lessons were really amazing. The first professional lessons that I really ever had. I never went to lessons. I was self-taught, watched DVDs, tab books, things like that. But to this day, that's where I'm at. And there may be more stuff with that I can go into later. But for right now, that's pretty much my guitar journey. I mean, that's it. That's where I came from musically. That's where I'm at today. Still love my bluegrass gospels. I don't play it as much nowadays because I'm really trying to hone my skills on electric guitar, trying to get better with currently working on a Marco Sfogli solo. Still got other guitars I'd like to get out, like I said, and just go back to the day where I used to play these things. But as for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably call this quits. It's getting late and my mind can't think of anything else. The only other thing I can say is through the years, I've been able to meet John Petrucci on G3 when he came to Nashville with Satriani, John Petrucci, and Paul Gilbert. That was in 2007. There's a bootleg of that somewhere. I think it may even be on YouTube, and it's awesome. You've got to watch that. That's when he first came out. A little bit after Paul Gilbert came out with Get Out of My Yard. He was doing a tour for that album, I think. And Petrucci, this was around the time that he came out with his first album, which by now he's got his second album, but his first album. I can't think of the name of that album, but it had Glasgow Kiss on there, Damage Control, all those. Suspended Animation. And now he's got Terminal Velocity out. That'd be awesome if he did a tour and I was able to see him with that. But over the years, I've collected all this memorabilia and created Texas Blues Guitar, then Bluegrass Guitar Essentials, which was my baby. I wanted to create that first, but I really didn't have the ability to do that. Then Bluegrass Guitar Arpeggios. I've created a writing course, some other stuff that I'm working on right now, some other announcements and things like that that are coming up. You guys want to stay tuned for that. I want to thank you for watching. I'm going to try to fix this, and if nothing else, I'm going to have to put that third spring on there. Right now, it looks like it's still lifting up more than I want it to. I may have to do some research, just leave this thing until tomorrow too. I don't know. Maybe just let it sit overnight and just ponder it and think about it, because it's getting late and I've got to get up tomorrow and do some workouts and different things like that. And so that's me for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it hasn't been too, volume hasn't been too low. I mean, I haven't been able to hear it because I haven't had my input levels up. That way I won't feedback or anything like that. But hopefully you've been able to hear what's been going on. I'll have to listen to this back myself. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Please share it. Subscribe if you haven't. I do videos like this and gear demo review videos, as well as lesson videos here on the channel. I try to do this weekly. I'm probably doing a lot more live stream stuff because I've been really working hard on some other video projects that I don't really have time to edit the videos for this channel, so I'll probably do more live streams on this channel. And I want to give a special shout out. I'm sorry it's so late at the end of this, but I'm going to give a special shout out to my latest patron on Patreon, Nolan Allen. He just signed up today. Actually, now it was yesterday because it's after midnight. So he signed up on Friday. Thanks so much, Nolan, for your VIP pass patronage, and gets me excited about getting maybe some bonus stuff out to you. And thanks so much, everybody else that tuned in to watch this. This has probably been the longest video I've ever done here on YouTube. But that's my guitar journey. Here it is all laid out for you. If there's anything else I can think of, that will be for another video, maybe bits and pieces here and there. But thanks to Michelle V222 for suggesting this as a video as well. I'm going to get off here and maybe tweak a little bit more before I go to bed. But we'll see you on the next video. That's this week's video. Please stay tuned for that announcement that's coming up. And it's coming up in the next day or two. And check out my Instagram too, ericbeatty.com/Instagram. And you can see what all the fuss has been about, all right? We'll talk to you guys later. And for now, thanks so much for watching. Keep playing, keep creating, and God bless.